with that in mind, what do you think about the future of humanitarianism generally as part of US foreign policy? In the book, you talk about how during the Cold War era, there was a certain logic to it, that strategy and altruism sort of went together in service of sort of anti-communism. Then you talk a little bit about how that fades after the Cold War. Where's your sense of where we are now in terms of US foreign policy and humanitarian?
Yes, yeah. The Cold War made humanitarianism both harder and easier than it is now. It made it harder because we would put up with great atrocities if the country in question was anti-communist or anti-Soviet. That's where it made it harder. It made it easier in the sense that we cared about every country on the map. Because we were in a battle for influence with the Soviet Union. And influence meant having humanitarian aid programs, foreign aid. Now it's different. Now it's different. But the crucial thing that has happened is that the world has become smaller because of digital communications. We're already more and more of a human community. A nervous, anxious, claustrophobic world out there. And because we're united by global media, reputational issues like a country's respect for human rights achieve more importance. So while it's important to kind of compete with China and Russia in the military sphere and other spheres, it's also important for us to promote humanitarianism because that gives us a leg up against these two autocratic powers. If we don't have humanitarianism baked into our foreign policy, then we're just following a one-dimensional realpolitik like Russia and China are.
And do you think, I'm just curious, do you have some sense of optimism in the sense? I know you're a realist
Yeah.
and perhaps a pessimist by disposition, but what you're describing requires some degree of humility, but also resolve. And do you see elements of that in terms of, as we think about the sort of next, post-Trump, and we're trying. There's a sort of a idea of a new internationalism of some way of this.
Well, I think various things, Joel, on this.
Yeah.
First of all, the Biden administration will be a vast improvement over the Trump administration in this matter, no matter what happens. But keep in mind that the Biden administration is not dealing with the America of the Cold War or even the post-Cold War, when the United States had a vast, dynamic, and united and very robust middle class, which underwrote big foreign aid programs, a big navy, and everything like that. So it acquiesced to to whatever our ambition was in the wider world. And the America of today has a battered middle class that's divided up between a cosmopolitan upper middle centered around the two coasts and university towns, and a lower middle drifting towards poverty, which is alienated by any internationalist form of foreign policy. So it's a less united country than it was. And so it will be harder for the Biden administration to serve up anything beyond rhetoric. America is not what it was. It cannot bring back civilian government in Myanmar by snapping its fingers, or things such as that. So, but I still think because it's a smaller, more claustrophobic world where human rights violations get immediate attention in the news through social media and other things, that it will drive us to this what I call inserting human rights high up in the hierarchy of needs of a U.S. foreign policy.